our toolbox, we have Teach, who's going to take us through that. Welcome, Teach.
Welcome, guys. How are you? Yes, how are you guys? So, my name is Shaun Ngazi. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar series, and I'll be taking you through our toolbox talk. And today we are going to be talking about electrical safety. So, electricity, everyone uses it today in our offices, at work, at home. Everyone is using electricity, and it's really good for our day-to-day businesses. And you can all know how it feels going for a day without electricity. So for us today now, it's more like a need. So our concern now comes, if you use it improperly, it becomes deadly. And this can result in electrocution. You can have an electrical shock, burns, or you can fall. So how does this happen? Electricity travels in a closed circuit, and for that to happen, you need conductors. And if you didn't know, a human body is one of those. It's a conductor. Being a conductor, a human body can conduct current, and the severity of a shock that you sustain from that current depends on the path the electricity will travel and the amount of current that you take in, as well as the amount of time that the current took on to pass through your body. And this can affect your breathing, your heart, your brain, your nerves, and your muscles. So in other words, electricity can blow all your fuses in the body, and we all know the result of that. And in a worst case scenario, this can be fatal, which we refer to as electrocution. So one of the injuries that you can sustain are burns, and these are shock related also, and they mainly result from direct contact with electricity, usually with the hands, and also you can sustain burns from an arc flash when electricity passes through a medium like air and blows off you. And also there are thermal burns from hot electrical surfaces. And these are mostly encountered on our hands. And if worse comes to worse, electricity can cook up all your internal organs. How does all this happen? This can happen if you have poor wiring at home, at your offices, at your workplaces, and also using damaged tools and equipment with exposed electrical parts can result to some of those injuries I've explained earlier. And also working with wet hands. You cannot handle any electrical appliance with wet hands. Water is a conductor also, combined with the human body, which is a conductor. You can be more like a copper wire. So it's actually dangerous doing that. And also attending to electrical appliances without the requisite PPE is also a hazard that can result to injuries. So to prevent all of these are some of the things that you can do. First of all, make sure all your appliances at home are grounded. In your offices, at workplace, there's grounding, or what we refer to as earthing. Also, make sure you have electrical safety devices like ground fault safety interrupters. These ones help us to break any flow of currents whenever it detects there is a shortage of current in the circuit. And also, whenever you're working, being at home, be it at your office, be it at workplace, inspection is very important, guys. And this is and also preventative maintenance, so that you don't become a victim of electricity. Also, we can opt to use battery powered tools so that we don't get ourselves involved with electricity. And whenever you're at your workplaces, I guess all of us are familiar with the lockout and takeout procedures. This helps us de-energize any energy whenever we are working with electrical appliances, so that no one can switch on a system while you are working on it. And also PPE is very important, as I have highlighted earlier. It's a hazard working without a PPE. And the most of all, we need to be trained and educated. Knowledge about this electricity thing is very, very important. So in case of a victim, first thing is to turn off the flow of electricity, that is cut off any flow of current before or attending to the victim. And whenever you want to attend to the victim, make sure the current flow is really switched off, and you don't switch it off with your hands. You should use maybe a wood or a rubber stick to switch off the current. And in terms of emergence, first thing is to call an emergency service, then apply CPR if a person is not breathing. And also, if you are not trained in first aid, you don't render any first aid to any victim. So these are some of the things we don't do whenever we are working with electricity. You don't mix electricity with water, be it working with wet hands, be working at wet places or wet surfaces with electricity. And also whenever there's an electrical fire, you don't put it out using water, because water is also a conductor and that can escalate things. And also we don't overload circuits. I guess some of us in our offices right now, our circuits are overloaded. So many plugs on the socket. That is a don't for electricity. And also I discussed about grounding, and there is a third prong on all our plugs, that is the grounding prong. And you don't use any electrical appliance with a broken prong or without that prong. It's a hazard. And we have to be wearing your PPE. I'll keep on repeating this. Whenever you want to attend to electrical issues, you should be wearing PPE, electrical rated PPE. And also, as I've mentioned earlier, whenever there is a victim of electrical shock, you don't render first aid if you are not trained. And these are some of things we should do whenever we're working with electricity or see any electrical appliance. We have to treat every wire as live. Every electrical wire you see lying around, just treat it as live. Don't assume, guys. You don't know what can happen. Also, during your inspection, you see a fault or anything, any unsafe condition or anything that is abnormal, you have to report all of those. And one thing, I guess, at our workplaces, we have been hearing this, a clean area is a safe area. So housekeeping is very, very important. It eliminates some of the hazards that are associated with electricity. Also, being at home, be it at work, be it everywhere, whenever you want to use an electrical appliance, make sure it's turned off before you plug it in. And also, you don't pull off plugs with their cables. You hold the plug and pull it off from the socket. With that, I would like to thank you all, and I'll give this time to the audience if there are any questions or comments or subtractions to what I've been presenting about electricity. Hello, guys. Do we have any comments from the audience or additions or subtractions from what I have been saying about electricity?
Hi, John.
Hello?
Hi, teacher. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I just have a question on the issue of rendering first aid. You are saying someone is not supposed to render first aid in case someone is shocked with electricity. Let's say I'm the first person to arrive at the scene, and then I'm seeing someone is struggling. What's the best? Should we leave the person as they may be no first aid, of course, and then we arrive on the scene? What is the best way out to save life? Because that we know this is about life? What is the best way?
Okay, the first response is to call an emergency medical service. Then if you don't know anything about first aid, it's best to just don't render any first aid, because the purpose of first aid is to prevent any further injuries. So if you are not knowledgeable about anything with first aid, you might as well escalate things with the victim. So it's best if you don't attend to the victim, just call the emergency medical services. That would be the best. I guess you are answered.
Hello?
Hello?
Maybe to add on to it, just to buttress the point being raised, you cannot administer CPR when you have not been trained. As SHEC practitioners, it is a requirement from the standard that we should have first aiders in our system. So basically, we are now obliged by the standard that we should have competent people to attend to these situations. So we are now forced to say, if we have got a situation that comes on the ground and we are SHEC practitioners, we should also be having the requisite qualifications on the ground to attend to issues. Because you want to save life, at times you then lose life in trying to save the life because you don't have the competence to do it. That's my contribution to buttress the point that was being alluded to by Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Mufunda. Then I guess you are answered. So
It's okay, thank you.
okay, thank you, Mr. Mike. So is there anyone with
maybe to just add on to the hazard itself? The reason why you are being asked not to attempt to help the injured if you are not trained, there are two things. You either have to remove the hazard or remove the person from the hazard. So in some cases, the person gets electrocuted and is still connected to the electricity. So if you attempt to help the person without enough knowledge, then you equally put yourself in danger. Maybe that's the reason why we want you to know what you are doing first before you try to attempt and help the person.
Yeah, that's it, Mr. Mugunda. I guess everyone is answered on that. Pixon yet, you can come up. Mr. Nyati? Mr. Nyati, are you there? I guess we have an issue with that. Is there anyone from the audience who wants to comment or add or ask a question? That being said, I would like to thank you all, guys. So I'll transfer you to Chenge. She's going to take you through the PPE spotlight.
So I guess before Chenge starts, thank you for the presentation, Teach. That was really informative and great points that got raised regarding the issue of rendering first aid. First on the scene, now if you haven't been trained in it, I think as discussed and highlighted, first point of call for emergency services, for emergency support to respond. Now, of course, if there's imminent danger to the individual, then yes, let's eliminate those hazards that are around them, or let's move them. But ultimately, let's do that with caution so we don't cause any further damage to the individual. So moving